on the law firm side too, especially when they're building client-facing products, there is absolutely a recognition now that if they're building something that's client-facing, it also has to be both visually attractive and also usable, because that's a reflection on the firm's brand. The firm does not want to be seen. If they're trying to build something that's innovative and they want to show the clients that they're innovative and finding new ways to deliver services to their clients and interact with their clients, having something that is that does not look modern and is easy to use is a poor reflection on their brand, and sort of does the opposite of their goal, which is to show their clients that they're trying to find new ways to be innovative.
Today on LawNext, I'm welcoming back Nicole Bradick, who was the very first guest on the very first episode of this podcast way back in July 2018. At that point, she was 6 months into Theory and Principle, the tech development company she launched in January of 2018. And the occasion of her return today is both the 5-year anniversary of her company and news this week that Theory and Principle is branching off in a new direction, or I guess adding a new direction, launching T&P Studio, an arm of the business devoted to developing legal tech products, both in partnership with others and on its own. This is Bob Ambrogi, and you're listening to LawNext, the podcast that features the innovators and entrepreneurs who are driving what's next in law. Before I get to that conversation with Nicole Bradick, let me share a word about a product that can help you practice law more efficiently. Are you searching for law practice management software designed specifically for your practice? Case empowers workers' compensation, employment and labor, and insurance defense firms to run a successful law firm with features tailored to their exact needs. From automating email and document management to tracking time, billing, and reconciling online payments, learn how Case can help you by visiting them at meruscase.com. That's MERUSCASE.com. Now on to my interview with Nicole Bradick. Nicole Bradick, welcome back to LawNext.
Thank you, Bob. Glad to be back here.
Congratulations on your hitting 5 years.
Thank you.
Remember talking to you when you were first getting this thing going, and I'm not sure you knew that it would make it 5 years or not, but it seems like you've not only survived but thrived over that time.
Yeah, it's been a good 5 years. I feel like being the first guest on your podcast really is what set us on the course to success.
I think that was it. Oh, well, as I say, you were kind of already 6 months into it at that point, so I wish I could take credit for it. It was funny because I had actually been thinking it was that much sooner after you had launched, but when I looked back at it, I realized it was that long after. But so I want to talk about the stuff you're announcing this week, but it is the 5th year anniversary of the company. And I thought it would be helpful to listeners to kind of go back a little bit and talk about, revisit kind of why you launched this in the first place. What was it that you wanted to do when you founded Theory and Principle?
Yeah, of course. So at the time I launched this company, I had been working at a previous company where we were building products. We were also doing a variety of other things, but building digital products in this space was absolutely my passion. And it seemed more and more like the industry is starting to really appreciate the utility of good design, the import of good user experience, user interface design, the import of well-developed products. And the industry was really shifting from this focus on pure function into considering more form and how people actually interact and engage with the product, as opposed to just, how many features can we cram into a product, which had been historically the focus of legal technology and the focus of tech generally. But I think other industries had already sort of discovered why design is valuable, quite a bit earlier than legal. So I wanted to start this organization that was focused strictly on product and really truly excellence in product and legal. And the timing felt right. And so we went for it. And I think that history has proven that I think our timing was quite right. And I think we hit the market just at the right time when, people were ready for a company that had this specialization, that could not only sort of produce the products and be there to serve the market, but then also really like educate the market. So I think that's also been like an important part of how we've seen ourselves as like an educator to the market on like, this is how we can actually do things properly. This is how we can approach these problems in a way that is methodical and in a way that has been shown to sort of get us to the best products possible. And we can do this in legal. Like there's nothing special about us that means that, we're not able to build products in the way the rest of the universe is building products.
Well, I have a clip from when I first interviewed you because I'm sure you remember. Well, I'm sure you remember that I kind of I had to point out when we talked last time that shortly into launching your company, you wrote an article and published an article titled "Technology Can't Solve All of Our Problems," which I thought was really funny for somebody who had just launched a technology development company. But in that article, one of the things you talked about is that there's a lot of bad legal technology out there. Again, this is 5 years ago, but I'm going to try and see if this works. I have a little clip button. Let me see. Here we go. One of the points you made in that article and is that there is a lot of bad legal tech out there, and bad being your word, not my reading between the lines. So what is bad legal technology, and why do you feel it's important to kind of call it out?
Yeah. And honestly, so this company that I now own, Theory and Principle, our mission is to make legal tech less bad. Again, like I could really use a marketing person.
That's a good motto. I like that. So how has your mission evolved from there? I mean, is there still a lot of bad tech out there? And how have you helped perhaps influence that over the last 5 years?
I do think that the industry has evolved quite a bit in the last 5 years. And I think it's evolved as a matter of necessity. We work with a lot of legal tech companies, for example, and that portion of our business has exploded in the last 5 years because it has become not just a nice to have an interface that is usable. It's become mandatory to sell a product. You just simply can't get by in the market with a product that is not usable and is difficult. So that part of our business has exploded. There are certain segments of the market where there are exceptions, but in the sort of market at large, you need to have a product that is easy to use. I would say that on the law firm side too, especially when they're building client-facing products, there is absolutely a recognition now that if they're building something that's client-facing, it also has to be both visually attractive and also usable, because that's a reflection on the firm's brand. And the firm does not want to be seen. If they're trying to build something that's innovative and they want to show the clients that they're innovative and finding new ways to deliver services to their clients and interact with their clients, having something that does not look modern and is easy to use is a poor reflection on their brand, and sort of does the opposite of their goal, which is to show their clients that they're trying to find new ways to be innovative. So I think all in all, the industry has moved very far in 5 years alone. So there's still bad tech. Of course, there's bad tech. I mean, this is also the week of do not pay.
Yeah.
So. That has been a thorn in my side for many years. Just there's been a lot of stuff that's like that, which is just, kind of careless.
I mean, and that was really attacked for the UX issues. I mean, that was interesting. I'm sure you saw that whole Twitter thread from the woman who went through and tried out a bunch of these products. And I mean, apart from the fact that it didn't necessarily deliver the results it was supposed to deliver, just the UI UX issues were astounding, really.
And that's not new. I mean, I think I did a similar thread like 5 years ago or whenever they first started. And those issues are not new. It's just, I think it's just been kind of careless. I think I wrote an article a few years back about like, what can we consider as minimally viable in legal? And I think we have like a responsibility to like that goalpost for what's minimally viable has to be further along than like, a social media product. Like, we have a responsibility to make things that will cause no harm and put people in no worse of a position than they were as far as their legal rights stand. And I think that if you're creating a product, like never mind the UX issues, but if what we're delivering them could potentially cause them harm, I think we've got an obligation to be much more considered as far as our product goes. So I think there's some big issues with that. But yes, the UX issues have always been there for that product. I think it's a lack of caring on that part of that product. But the other ones, they're not a lack of caring. It's a lack of knowledge. It's a lack of budget. It's a lack of competition, I think. That have plagued other parts of the industry.
Yeah. So your customers, and setting aside this new business that you're launching, but up until now, your customers are kind of all sorts of legal organizations, right? I mean, law firms, corporate legal, legal aid organizations that come to you to help them create products or websites or whatever else. Why does it matter for those customers to use a tech development agency that has the domain expertise in legal as opposed to any other tech company out there?
Yeah, there's a bunch of things. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious from like the very first conversation we have with prospects, like just our ability to identify for them immediately, like where the issue they're trying to solve sort of exists within the grand scheme of the problem the user is facing. Sort of our ability to sort of pinpoint where the user is, what they're facing, what the situation around the user is, like that knowledge, we already have that. So we can already put ourselves in the shoes of the person who they're trying to solve the problem for, which gets us like leaps and bounds ahead if they were to hire an agency who doesn't have that background, right? So we're starting from step 10 as opposed to step 1 from like the very first phone call, right? And we also understand all the technology that exists around it. You know, if it's a law firm coming to us, we already got to understand all the existing software that they have. We have to understand all the politics that exist at every level of the law firm. That puts us at step 25 over step 1 that another agency would get to. And those are like first call identification things. And then when we move further into design, it's really about understanding, you know, what limits exist in the legal space. You know, where are there ethical limits? Where are there things that are specific to how lawyers use technology? Where are there things that are like tend to be preferences that we know, like that a self-represented litigant, because we've tested with 1 million of them, what have we found in all of our research that a self-represented litigant tends to, you know, how do they tend to like mentally model their experience and how they're approaching their problem? There's all these things that we bring to the table when we're designing these things that have just, you know, we've done this work for nearly a decade. We bring all of that to the table when we're designing products. So I think there's quite a bit of value that we're bringing.
Yeah, but how do you sort of transfer that knowledge to the people who work for you? I mean, you've got engineers, you've got design people, various other people working for you. I seem to recall somewhere a conversation with you that you said you actually have some of these people go like sit in courtrooms and do stuff like that to just try and get a better understanding of how the legal system works.
Yeah, well, I actually have several team members that have been with me for the entire run, you know, for nearly a decade. So, you know, I've had people who have been with me in the trenches since the beginning. But also, you know, I have my hand in every product that we work on. You know, I'm not sort of actively engaged in all of them, but as far as like guiding the product managers, I do what my team loves to affectionately refer to as swooping and pooping, which I just can't help myself. But I bring all of that knowledge and experience to all of our projects, especially up front. To make sure that, you know, there's no knowledge loss there. But yeah, we do a lot of sort of internal education. We do, every 2 weeks, we do like a law 101 where I'll come with some topic that is relevant in the industry right now. And we'll do some education there. Yeah, if there's like hands-on stuff that's happening, for sure. We send people to conferences, have people speak at conferences, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So on this occasion of your 5-year anniversary, is there a particular project that you could point to that you think is particularly representative of the kind of work you're proud of, or that you think exemplifies the kind of what your agency represents?
We've had our hand in nearly 60 projects over the course of our 5 years. So I think it's really the range that I think exemplifies our work, right? And I think one of the coolest things about this company is that we can work on such a broad range of things. Like at a given time, like right now, we're working on a project that deals with conservatorship issues for a nonprofit. And we're also dealing with a product that helps an agency coach law firm talent. And we're also dealing with a licensing app for a law firm. Like all over the place. And that's really what I love about, the position that we stand in, is that we can kind of touch every piece of the market. So it's hard to say like there's one project that exemplifies what we can do, because the thing I love about our organization is that we can touch so many different things, which is the perfect non-answer for you, Bob.
Well, that's good. And I also understand that some of what you've done, you can't actually talk about the fact that you've done it. There's some stuff that's out there publicly, and some of which I've written about on my blog, and people can find out some of that, and some of which you feature on your own website as well, some of the projects you've done, so people can look there too.
Yeah, certainly most of our law firm work is not stuff that we can talk about.
When I launched this podcast in 2018, I knew exactly who I wanted as my first guest. Even then, Nicole Bradick was already a veteran legal technology innovator and entrepreneur. And 6 months earlier, she had launched her own legal technology design and development company, Theory and Principle. As we've been discussing so far, Bradick is celebrating the 5th anniversary of her company this month, and also just announced the launch of a new business unit, T&P Studio, which will be devoted to developing SaaS products and bringing them to market in partnership with others that may not have the team or the budget to go it alone. In a moment, I'll ask Bradick about this new business and the kinds of products she hopes to develop. But first, let's take a moment to hear from the sponsors who so generously support LawNext. Chasing late payments shouldn't be a consistent part of your day. That's why Case now offers Maris Pay, the easy-to-use, compliant payments processor built right into the platform. Now, your firm can accept online payments directly through Case, where you manage everything else related to your workers' compensation, employment and labor, or insurance defense cases. You need a resource that works for you in the background. Learn how Case can support your practice at mariscase.com. MERUSCASE.com. Welcome back to LawNext. My guest Nicole Bradick is celebrating the 5th anniversary of her legal tech design and development company, Theory and Principle. So far, we've been looking back on the last 5 years, but with her announcement this week that she's launching a new product development studio, I wanted to learn more about what that will look like and how it will work. As we return to our conversation, that is where we pick up. So this week, as it is your 5th year anniversary, you are also announcing the launch of a new business arm called T&P Studio. So what is T&P Studio?
So T&P Studio is our sort of go-to-market SaaS arm. So we have operated as a traditional service business, a traditional agency. And this is the business unit of ours that is dedicated to working with partners to design, develop, launch, and run SaaS products and bring them to market. So the concept here is that, we understand that the thing that we are really excel at is building and launching legal tech products. And we want to partner with people who have great ideas for legal tech products, but might be missing some part of what they need to get those to market. Money, team, time, sales team, whatever it might be. And we want to be sure that really good ideas can get out there and get to market by filling in that missing piece. So we want to engage in joint ventures with people who want to work with our team and see some of those products get out to market. So we have already 2 anchor products that we've done this with, a product called Map Engine and a product called Virtual Law Clinic, I think both of which you've covered a couple of times on your blog. And both sort of follow that joint venture model that I'm happy to talk about.
Yeah. So the difference from what you're doing before is that before people would come to you and say, we need to develop this, and you would develop it, and when you were done, kind of walk away, and it's theirs, and they own it. Now, your people will come to you who maybe aren't in a position to develop it on their own, need support of the kinds of expertise that you have, so they partner with you, and then from there forward, it's something you've built and owned together.
Yes, and the other, so the service arm is work for hire, right? And a lot of times those are not commercial products, right? So especially for nonprofits, we're typically building free to the public service. This is very much commercial go-to-market SaaS products that we're looking to build with partners.
So who would be an ideal prospect for this? I mean, who do you anticipate? I mean, you mentioned you've already got a couple that you've developed. What are you envisioning? Who might come to you with what kind of a project?
Yeah, I can give you 2 examples from the products that we already have, and then I can give you some examples of things that are in the works right now. So the first product, Map Engine, our partners we're a consultancy, Sente Advisors. They kept hearing from their clients about this thing that they wished was in the market that didn't exist. Sente has no product experience. They came to us. We partnered with them on the product to co-own it, and we sort of shared the division of labor post-launch of the duties and sort of co-own that product. That's one arrangement. The second one, Virtual Law Clinic, that was brought to us by Simpson Thacher, large law firm Simpson Thacher. They had a product they wanted to exist, which is super common for law firms, but they didn't want any of the carrying costs. They don't want to own it. They don't want to deal with it, but they wanted it to exist. So we co-developed it with them. They had a lot of input into the development of the product, and they have license to use it. They have their own version of it, but then we get to go market it to the public. We've been talking to a firm now that has a bunch of products, a suite of products that they'd like to build. They essentially want to have, one of these technology subsidiaries, but they don't want the capital investment and all of that of a typical technology subsidiary that law firms have. So we would essentially function that way, but do a rev share on the products. They would market and sell it to their clients. We would be their product arm. So these are the types of engagements that we're thinking about. And also, of course, over the years, we've had a number of startups come to us and say, "Hey, do you mind? We don't have all the money to build our MVP. Can we do an equity? Give you some equity in exchange for this build?" We just weren't set up properly for that before. Now we're better set up for that. So those are the types of arrangements that we would be looking for the studio now.
All right. So if somebody may not have the financial wherewithal to kind of launch a product on their own, this might be an opportunity for them to partner with you on an equity basis and get that thing developed and out there.
Yes, of course. And it would be dependent on, our assessment about the viability of the product and the product market fit and that sort of thing.
Right. And as I understand it, part of the plan is also that you will develop products solely on your own without a partnership with anybody else. Is that right? What are you thinking there?
Yeah, so we certainly have our own stable of ideas. I think ideally we'll be partnering with people on these ideas on products, but we also have some solutions in our minds that we may go into R&D on as well. So we're not closing the door to that either.
And so do you have any, has this sort of already started? Do you have things in the works already? I probably can't talk about it, but I mean, are you already developing some of these SaaS products?
We're not in development on the third product yet, but we're in conversations and exploring what the next product will be.
Yeah. And how do you see this kind of developing, over the next 5 years or so? I mean, does the studio take precedence over the product development or 50-50 or what are you thinking going forward?
No, I think they're just going to run as separate business units next to each other. Everyone who works at this company loves the service arm and loves doing client work. So that is not going to diminish. That's not going to go away. Nothing's going to change there. So I think they're both going to grow sort of organically next to each other. I don't think there's going to be any competition between the two for our attention. They're both our babies.
Yeah. So when you started this company 5 years ago, you were not a stranger to running business. I mean, you're a lawyer originally by background, but you were involved in how many? 2 or 3 businesses before starting Theory and Principle. Has there been anything about the last 5 years that's really sort of surprised you as an entrepreneur, as a founder? Something that you kind of learned about running a business that you just had no idea coming into this 5 years ago?
Running SaaS businesses is very different. I've always only run service businesses. So there's a lot of things running SaaS business that was new to me when we first started. So there was a lot of things I had to learn that like we've never had to market before.
Yeah.
We've just always kind of done this work and, we've had a great reputation and the work's just kind of come. So, I do some talks and that's kind of our marketing, and our work has always just kind of spoken for itself on the service side. So we've never really had to do a ton of like true sales or marketing. The work just comes. But obviously SaaS is quite different. It's a very different business model. So we've had to learn a lot, and I've had to call up a lot of my friends who've been working in SaaS and get a lot of, advice and information. And, we kind of had to build that SaaS sales marketing muscle that we just didn't have before. So that, that's not really, that was sort of like all new. I felt like a baby entrepreneur all of a sudden, a couple of years ago when we started learning that side of the world. I mean, on the service side, certainly, I think everybody had to learn new things with the pandemic and with moving remote. And I think we're all still trying to learn how to run these businesses this way. And I think the labor market shifting has forced us all to try to, stretch things a little bit. And I think, people are working with tighter margins right now and everybody's trying to figure out how to make it work. I think it's been difficult for everybody who runs any type of business over the last couple of years. So I think everybody's kind of, sorting that, but I don't think it's been anything different or surprising.
Yeah. You talked earlier about the importance of design in building legal tech products. I'm wondering if there's anything setting that apart from your observations of the market, from seeing other products, legal tech products that have been coming on the market over the last 5 years. Is there anything else that you think developers of legal tech products tend to get wrong on a regular basis?
Aside from design? Yeah. Well, that's a funny question, because design is what I usually pay attention to. Because the only other things you can get wrong are like product market fit, marketing messaging, tech stack, which like tech stack I wouldn't really have insight to.
Product market fit's kind of an important one, but that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of products come out I see a lot of products come out that seem like they're coming into a pretty congested market, and I'm like, I'm not sure that's going to survive, but I don't have enough insight into their business and what they're looking at to really make those judgments. So design is really the only thing I can make like a pretty good judgment call on.
Yeah.
Just upon seeing it. But the other stuff, I just don't have the same insight that a CEO has of their company. I'm not looking at the same numbers they're looking at. So I can't really make those calls. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, Bob.
Yeah. No, that's fine. You don't have to have an answer. But I was kind of wondering, from where you sit I don't know how closely you pay attention. I mean, I see so many different products coming on the market all the time that it starts to almost be a blur for me. And I wonder sometimes whether
it is a blur.
Whether you kind of sit where you're from your perspective, whether you're looking at the market and whether you're sort of what you're thinking as you're looking at what's coming onto the market out there and what your perception of it is, and whether we've gotten better, I guess, over the last 5 years, not you, but whether the legal market in general has gotten better at developing products, whether from a design or from a product market fit or whatever else. Are we doing better at that?
I think we've gotten better from a design perspective for sure. I think we've reached a saturation point in a number of categories that I think that it would be really hard as a consumer to wade through all of the options, especially, the contract scene. I would hate to be in a buyer's position trying to sort through what my options are as far as like contract automation. Yeah. It's such a mess. And then to try to be a company coming out and trying to differentiate myself as a contract automation provider, you're using AI, you're probably like throwing in ChatGPT stuff right now, but it's like, how does that plug in with every other thing that I'm using? I don't know. It seems like such a mess. I just think I want to see consolidation there, just because, and also it's just all kind of a little bit boring to me right now.
It's all boring to you,
to be honest. I mean, it's just so much that seems like we're solving the same problems. Like I don't know. I feel like I'm interested in seeing people trying to find new ways to solve new problems too. I think there's a lot of like consumer type problems that nobody's really trying to solve that I'd be really interested to see. So I get excited when I see those kind of things, like people solving consumer problems that are we haven't really tried to tackle.
Do you think that there was actually a Twitter thread about this yesterday where somebody was asking what are sort of in response to that whole do not pay discussion, somebody was asking, well, what are the areas of consumer facing legal tech that haven't been addressed by technology? And I mean, my feeling is you kind of throw a dart at a map, and I mean, there's all sorts of things. I mean, to me, some of
100%. Like there should be like a hello divorce for every topic area. Like why is there's like no consumer product dealing with eviction,
right?
For example, right. or housing issues. That seems like the biggest low hanging fruit. And if I had any energy left in my body, I would start one tomorrow, because that seems like not only like it would solve a massive consumer issue, but it also feels like a gold mine.
Yeah. I mean, another I was thinking of was just debt collection, which there's something like Solo Suit is a product that's out there to address that. There's a couple of others out there, maybe not even a couple of others out there. But I mean, that's one of the hugest areas of just where people are not represented by lawyers and having to go into court over stupid credit card issues and all of that. And there's just not, I mean, Solo Suit's whole premise was they're just, people don't even know what to do when they get notified of this kind of a lawsuit, let alone get into court and defend themselves. I mean, that seems to be another big area.
Yeah, and a lot of the work that we're doing with nonprofits is trying to like tackle a lot of the like information gaps around a lot of these issues. But I think there's just stuff that a for-profit can do with like a sustainable for-profit model that a nonprofit just can't get to with their tech. They just don't have the ongoing sustainability to make it happen. So I think there's a lot of for-profit models that can really make a big impact.
Yeah. I guess we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I just want to ask, I was struck by, you put out a press release this week, and one of the statements in your press release is that, on this 5th anniversary, you feel that Theory and Principle, quote, has had outsized influence and impact across all segments of the industry. What did you mean by that? I'm curious.
We're a very small company. And I think when people hear how small of a company we are, they're really surprised. Because
I know you, and I was surprised. I mean, I went to your 5th anniversary thing, and I thought you had gotten bigger than you actually are. Yeah.
No, and we are the size we are intentionally. I want to stay a small company. I like running small companies. We had been bigger, and I peeled us back because I think that, for me, quality is the number one thing that I care about. I want us putting out really quality products. I want us working on the projects we really care about. And to do that, we can stay small. We can turn away the projects that aren't quite right for us. And I just like having smaller teams. And I think for the size that we are, I think we're extremely well known worldwide. I think people have heard some rant that some person on our team has gone out and spoken about as far as UX UI. I think we've sort of touched, if you work in sort of an innovation technology type field, you've probably learned something from somebody on my team over the last 5 years. And I think that says a lot for a very small team. And I think it's something we're really proud of, that, this tiny team that's mostly based in Portland, Maine, that we've had such a big impact. I think it's something, and people, I think somebody gave us a quote for our 5-year anniversary that says, like, when they want to show their class examples of like good work, they show our products and stuff like that. Is, that's the kind of thing that we sit back and we're really, really proud of.
Yeah, well, you should be proud of it. It's been you've achieved a lot, and like you say, I think it's accurate to say you've had outsized influence when you put it that way. Anything else that I haven't asked you about that you were just dying to get off your chest before we finish this interview?
Oh, I don't know. I think we've covered it. We're really excited about the studio arm, because I think, our goal really is to accelerate and get, ideas to market that really should be in market. And I don't want things to stand in the way of people who have great ideas. And, some of those ideas are sitting in law firms where it's like bureaucracy that gets in the way. It's not even like just, somebody who doesn't have, an individual entrepreneur who doesn't have enough money. This is even like ideas that are sitting in law firms there where there's like, just layers of bureaucracy that are in the way. So I really want to I'm really excited about this model. I'm hoping that it will help, people who just want to work with a great team but don't have access to a great team. I'm hoping it'll really encourage people to get some of these great ideas to market.
Yeah, I suspect you'll have no shortage of people calling you once you announce this. Well, thanks a lot, and congratulations on 5 years, and look forward to talking to you again in another 5 years or so.
Thanks so much, Bob. Appreciate it.
A huge congratulations to Nicole Bradick and everyone at Theory and Principle for all their success over the past 5 years, and best wishes to them for the next 5 years and beyond. If you would like to share your own thoughts or comments on today's show, please do so by tweeting us at LawNext Podcast or by emailing me directly, ambrogi@gmail.com. LawNext is produced, engineered, and edited by Populous Radio. I'm your host, Bob Ambrogi. Please join us again next time for another episode of Law Next.